King Solomon tells us wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom. As we seek this wisdom, let us turn to the Church Fathers and say, Abba, give me a word that I may live.
Over the course of our life, as we try to grow spiritually, we find that sin comes in the way of our spiritual growth, especially the repeated or habitual sins. Repeated sins come in the way and make us feel like there is no hope for us, and we think to ourselves that God cannot possibly accept us and cannot accept the repentance we offer since we expect to repeat the same sin. But even if there is such repeated sin, a person can still hate the sin and renew his covenant with God through repentance. I can stand before the Lord and ask Him to help me overcome. I can stand before the Lord and beg for mercy. I can stand before the Lord and ask for the strength and wisdom to overcome. There is a story in the Paradise of the Desert Fathers of a monk who was fought with lust for a period of 3 years, and this monk repeatedly fell into sin. And every time he would get up, offer prostrations, shed tears of repentance, and beg God for mercy. The devil came to him after 3 years of struggle and said to him, "Are you not ashamed as you pray, prostrating yourself, and then repeating the same sin over and over again?" The monk responded to the devil saying, "You hit me from one side with sin, and I will fight you with the love of God, and let us see who wins." And from that moment the devil left him. The monk here in this story was focused on the love of God, which enabled him to continue his struggle and renew his covenant with God through the act of repentance. Instead of focusing only on the ugliness of the sin, he focused on the beautiful love of God and His mercy, realizing that victory can only come from God. Saint Macarius the Great instructs us in homily number 3 saying, "Nevertheless, to root out sin and the evil that is ever with us, this can only be accomplished by the divine power. It is not possible or within a man's competence to root out sin by his own power. To wrestle against it, to fight against it, to give and receive blows is yours, to uproot is God's." And so St. Macarius clearly is telling us here that our role is to fight, to struggle, but to uproot is God's. And so let us use the example of that monk who focused on the love of God as the devil tried to throw him into despair over his repeated sins. God's love for us doesn't change. He's determined to save us, but we must simply be willing to cry out to Him, to offer repentance, and to realize that He is the one who will uproot sin. We are only to offer our struggle, imitating that monk, focusing on the love of God.